Okay.
When's the case coming?
I don't know, nothing's happened yet.
Okay, let's do it next week.
All right.
Got the note.
Mr. President, we're ready.
Here we go.
All right. Great. Good morning.
Morning.
Each and every one of you. Glad to see all of these smiling faces. And we will turn it over now to our very capable city clerk.
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, November 10th. We have approval of minutes from November 3rd and 4th.
Okay.
Great job.
Roll.
Appeals, we have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance on November 21st on Jan Wood Drive from 5:30 to 10 p.m. And December 4th
Okay.
from 6 until 9 p.m. This is on Moffett Road.
No problem.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Non-agenda items, we have Brian Few and Mayor. This is regarding the Human Relations Commission. They would like to present bylaws and budgets and give an update on the accomplishments that they've made thus far.
Madam Clerk, or Mr. President, just a point of reference here. Brian, this is my appointment. I asked yesterday to make sure that their bylaws and that whatever they were presented to us had been voted on by a quorum of the commission. He assured me that it had. And to make it simple, I will, unless somebody just really has a problem with providing funds to it that is legal, then I'll fund their modest budget as they're requesting to my discretionary money.
John, I don't mind sharing that expense with you. I've got
Same
an
here.
appointee, Kimberly McKean. She's really passionate about this Human Relations Commission being successful, and so count me in as well.
I have a question.
Ms. Gregory?
Yeah, I don't know if you all remember. Seems like years ago, in the performance contracts, there was a small budget for the Human Relations Commission. I mean, it wasn't much, but we used to fund it through performance contracts.
I just don't want to go back down that road. And I know what Joel's leaning up to say. You know, we did a great job of narrowing that down to necessity. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
And now we can, the things that are being asked, so I think we can do through discretion, and it's much easier to process as well.
John, how much are they asking for? I don't remember seeing that in the.
$600 or something like that.
1,000.
Was
1,000.
it? Maybe,
1,000.
But I'm happy to help
Okay.
too.
Yeah, it was, like I said, I didn't blink it. So
Right.
it was
Yeah.
well wrote.
Yeah, I have no objection to y'all using your discretionary funds, but I'd be opposed to doing it otherwise, because then we'd have all of these boards and commissions wanting to be funded, and that's a road we want to go down.
Keeps it non-formal.
Thank you, Mr. Williams and Ms. Rich. And we look forward to hearing from Mr. Feuermeyer. I hope I got that right.
What I'll do is I'll just plan to submit, and then if in the next week, between now and next meeting, if somebody wants to contribute, just say so, and then we'll split it up by whoever volunteers. I'm not going to ask, again.
Sounds good. Madam City Clerk?
Also, Reggie Hill has submitted a question he will not be able to address during the Zoom. So he had a question about 08818. Will any of these computers be utilized in our community centers? And if so, how many and at what locations?
When all those refurbished that were going I don't know. Is that the same one?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, Madam City Clerk, if you could forward that question over to the administration so that they would be the ones with the answer and they would know where each computer is going. So if we could forward that over to them and hopefully they can get that answer to Mr. Hill.
Okay. I'll also read it out, at 10:30,
In
so
your
that
crate.
it's, on the record.
What was the number again, please?
08818.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Essential COVID items held over, 34040, ordinance to amend chapter 34 of the city code regarding short-term lodging or rentals.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I am going to ask that we table this. As you remember, last week, there were some questions, and one in particular from Joel about how is the administration going to respond when somebody comes up to ask for a business license to operate a business basically in a residential neighborhood. And Chris has talked with people in the administration, and there's really no good short-term solution, because if you do go up to try to get a business license, the folks in planning and revenue would just say, well, you can't operate a business in a residential neighborhood. So there's really no way for them to proceed, even though I think we've all agreed that having a business license is a good idea. And I think we should continue on with that line of thinking, but there is really no way under our zoning code right now for them to do this. So there are some options that we can look at. One could be a variance, go before the Board of Adjustment, get a variance, something like that. We can relook at the zoning code. We can pull it out right now and move forward and try to change the zoning to create a special category for these. Or we can try to put it within the UDC, since the UDC is coming, and include it there. So there are some options, some things that we can look at, but nothing we can do today. So again, I'm just asking to table this, and let's maybe go back to committee and talk about it some more, get some of the planning folks involved to see maybe their preference on how we go forth with this issue that we've got that we need to do something about, and see where we land.
Gina,
Mr. President,
I think I heard Ms. Rich first, and then I'll come
Thank
right to you,
you.
Mr. Davis.
I appreciate a little bit of the brakes put on this, mostly because what I read about New Orleans and their angst came up when it was not an owner occupied type of venue for having a guest in the home. And it went rapidly with off-site management, some even corporations that were buying up homes and then turned them into rental space and overnight guests. Everyone who lives in a home, for the most part, has a homestead exemption that you're granted on your tax rolls when you pay your property tax, and that might be something, because again, if the person can show that it's an owner occupied, but it still gets into the issue of parking and noise and coming and going. So, looking upon it as a zoning issue is probably the best way to do it in the long run. So I appreciate the slowdown and not to make the error of getting it out the door and then seeing some issues that we know would crop up, and especially in R1s. Thanks.
Mr. Davis? I don't see him.
I think he's
Still
frozen.
with us, Mr. Davis.
That's a good look for Joel right there.
Like he's gone to, looks like he's gone to sleep.
Getting a little rest.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
let me
Where'd he
say,
go altogether?
I don't have anything against tabling it, but I wonder if we don't do anything, will we end up with what New Orleans has anyway, the only way for us not to end up like New Orleans is for us to take action. But if we table it, by the time we wake up, we could be faced with it.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Ms. Gregory?
Yeah, and Fred, you're correct, and that's one of the things that I had talked to Chris Arledge about. How quickly do we move on this? How much of an emergency is it that we do something like with the zoning? I know we've got, I think we heard about 300 or so in the city right now. I don't know if we give it 2 or 3 more months, does that mean that we're going to have all kinds of people coming out and turning single family homes into short-term rentals? Is it that much of an emergency, or can we wait until the UDC hits our desk and we try to amend it that way? Because I don't know exactly when the UDC is coming either. So there are some options. The other option, could be that we work out some way for the current short-term rental folks to get a business license under a waiver of some sort. But of course, that would require them to go before the Board of Adjustment, and that takes some time and money as well. But like I said, there are some options that we need to look at and determine which one is the best way forward for us.
Mr. President?
I brought the issue along with Ms. Gregory to the table, and I think we were prompted by 1 or 2 phone calls from concerned homeowners. It wasn't a great clamoring or, a great beating at our door saying we must, as quickly as possible, solve this today. So I do think we have some time. I don't think it's something we ought to just put on the back burner, but I think we have a sufficient enough amount of time to really make our first foray as best we can. And then if we need to come back and make adjustments, have that opportunity.
Mr. President?
Mr. Davis, welcome back.
I'm having some connectivity problems, but I think I'm okay now. First of all, I don't have a problem with slowing this down. My concern with tabling it is that takes it off the table, and what's not on the table doesn't get any progress. And my preference would be to hold it over for a month or so that we can have some additional meetings and discussions about it. I think the longer we put off dealing with it, the more difficult it is going to be to deal with it, because the problem's going to get bigger. And so I think we do need to be moving ahead with figuring out how to resolve it. I agree that the non-owner occupied short-term rentals are very problematic. And as far as the owner occupied short-term rentals, they ought to be treated exactly the way that the bed and breakfasts are treated, which I think is covered in the current zoning code. So I think there are a lot of, as Councilwoman Gregory has pointed out, there are a lot of issues involved here, but I hesitate to table it because I think that's just kicking it down the road. And I really am hesitant to wait on the UDC because I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know what form it's going to be in. I don't know when it's going to be acted on. I don't know whether it will be positively acted on. There are just all kinds of reasons not to try to handle it through the UDC. I think we need to go ahead and come up with a solution now, not today, but soon.
Ms. Gregory, what about 60 days?
It's certainly a start, and leaving it on the agenda is fine. We'll keep it in our, we'll have to think about it, it doesn't just go away, but just as long as everybody understands that the way it's written now, is not a way for us to move forward. But again, I have no problem with that at all. And we'll look at trying to get everybody together for a committee meeting as soon as possible. David Clark is also gathering some information for us from Savannah and Charleston. He had a couple of issues come up, so he's not able to do it. He wasn't able to do it for today, and that's fine. I told him we had a little bit of time to gather all of that, so he wants to help as well. So anyway, I'll get with everybody and we'll set a committee date.
That sounds great. And I want to thank you for all of you and the committee members for your time and attention on this matter so far, and your willingness to continue to work toward a solution. Thank you. Madam City Clerk.
You're muted. You're muted, Madam Clerk.
Madam Clerk.
Muted.
Sorry.
You sound great.
01793, authorized intergovernmental agreement with Mobile County for Nevius Road Extension. 08816.
Excuse me. Excuse me. On that one, I know that all of you have received a copy that now is 60840, which is actually, I think, the last thing on this week's agenda, because I didn't meet with the mayor until Friday in order to come up with this idea of having a way to keep the program alive without making sure that we are still dealing with the county, since it's a county program. However, PAYGO programs are normally and routinely overseen by the city. That's what completely blindsided me on this. So I'm wondering if we could move the idea of resolution 6840 so that this council has an opportunity to look at a path forward, which would help construct the street to our city standards instead of a rural county road. This is a major corridor, and it's mostly, if not all, in the city limits. My office has never seen plans, and I know that all of you with a major road improvement would want to be able to see that, to be at the table. I knew about the county's interest in having PAYGO, but it never occurred to me that the city wouldn't take the lead as it should, as it does in all our PAYGO programs. To do anything less is to build out this street in a substandard manner that is not in keeping with city guidance and oversight, and is not going to be the answer for sustainability in that area and future positive growth. So, and I'll have more to say at our meeting, but if you'll allow that to come first, I would be most appreciative of that, so that I can see if there are at least 5 council members that agree with moving it along a slower path in order to get more resources. And if you are familiar and have taken the points that I've made within the resolution, you'll see there are ways to get additional funding. This road is not going to be constructed, according to county engineers, for at least 2 to 3 years. So we're not talking about an immediacy, and yet we keep hearing we're going to lose it. And I don't understand that, because there is security in keeping the county's funds in place, because a PAYGO was voted on by the people. It's not just one county initiative or one county member's initiative. This was a PAYGO program. Those monies do not roll off, but there has to be a better plan in place so that we do not build an inferior road that I'm sure none of you would like in the districts that you represent. No curb, no gutter, no street lighting, and open ditches where maybe in some locations, because the terrain is rough, might be the only way to secure going over the road. But to just leave it in the condition it's in is not going to have the positive by any stretch of the imagination the positive result of the road that is using public resources. There's no rush to this. And it's a major corridor. And so that means it should follow looking like Relot and Cottage Hill, which are all curbed and gutter in our city limits for a reason, because of the amount of traffic. Just because it joins a road that was built by the county that was not in the city limits until 2008 during that annexation. And I know I would work with each of you to make sure that your community was at the table on a major road development. So if you would allow that to go first instead of last, then at least my office has a chance to advocate for better planning. And we talk about the map of Mobile, cost us thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not million, when you put in our staff and people at the table for good planning. This is not good planning by any stretch of the means. It's going to be costly so much more in the future. And there's already complaints on the segment that's in the city limits. And this is not a way to go about the project at all. And I spoke to one of the owners, and they were supposed to send me the map that they have with the some of the plans. Again, I venture to guess that none of you would be working on a major roadway that you hadn't seen plans for. And that's why I was not included, because I would have been bringing up the same things you probably would have brought up, and that is what conditions are going to be on the road. And to have them lacking or none is very short-sighted and very costly at the end of the day. So I wish that you would entertain allowing that to come up prior to your vote to move the money over prematurely at this point.
Mr. President?
Mr. Vice President?
Yeah, I would like to hear from our attorney or either the city attorney. Receiving some information, this past weekend about, something that a resolution that the council passed in 2011. I want to hear if there's a law that the new streets has to be guttered or ditch closed or street light. Are there any type of law, in our books that states that it must happen when the city put in a street or a street is developed?
Is that on?
Yes.
Yep.
In 2011, council passed a resolution calling for the implementation of a thing called a complete streets policy, which was basically saying that you support that goal and that's what should be considered when roads are being designed. It is not a requirement, but it is a endorsement of that process.
So it's not a requirement, but it's an endorsement.
Yes, sir, that's how I read it.
But
Okay.
when land is subdivided,
Ms.
and
Rich?
thank you. When land is subdivided and a landowner comes forward to build a road to that subdivision, whether it's a commercial or whether it's a residential, the road is constructed to standards that an urban or suburban street would have to have. And that's the curb, the gutter, the lighting. And it's part of the development code. And if everyone's talking about a grand future for these 750 acres, which will be opened up, you're not going to see that sustainability on a 2-lane dark roadway. It's not going to happen. And it's really extremely disappointing to see no understanding that planning, not just opening up a roadway, is going to have a positive effect on the area. Because the area that I represent was zoned before there were people living there. So the idea that you can have something brand new in the 21st century open up after we have what is called the map of Mobile, and the understanding that things would be improved on a development standards, and it would be reflective of modern planning practices. This goes completely opposite to anything that the city was moving our residents and telling them this was going to be happening. And so the idea that this is something, it's like going back in time. It's not futuristic. It is not looking at the idea that you can plan appropriately on 750 acres in an area of town that does not involve annexation, would help to grow our city. And if anything, this will be something where people will not want to be part of, and will get the same type of poor planning instead of looking forward to a future of good standards. And it's just so disappointing to me. And I got involved in city government because of planning. And maybe that's because I represent the area of town where a lot of this planning errors and things have gone on. Why aren't the people who are in the area at the table? Why was I not included? I never dreamt that this road would be constructed to a rural standard. It's in a suburban area. It's a mixed use area, and it could have its 750 acres. That's a lot of property opening up.
Mr. President,
Mr. Fred Richardson.
thank you, Mr. President. On this streetscape resolution, the city has been enforcing this since 2011. If a developer submit plans to the planning commission, the planning commission gonna require you to have curb, gutters, sidewalks, trees, the whole thing before you can build it. When public got ready to build it, they had to do the same thing. Anywhere in the city, they require you to have curb, gutters, sidewalks, trees, and all of that is required in the city. But what the city is saying, yes, I might make you do it, but I'm not gonna do it. You can't make me do it, is what the city is saying to the public. I'm gonna make you do that. But you can't make me because I am the city. That's what's happening with Negus Road. And if the mayor is getting ready to build another St. Stephen Road, where we haven't had no meaning for development. People can pull over whenever they get ready. There's no curb, gutter, sidewalks, so there's nothing to stop them. There's no grass, because you can go down the street and say, I just want to pull over. Just pull over wherever you want. Pull over wherever you want to pull over. So we don't have no trees, no grass, no sidewalks. We're coming back with another St. Stephen Road. I've been begging since I've been on this council for the mayor to join me and seeking funds to upgrade St. Stephen Road like all our other U.S. highways in the city. And I haven't gotten one dime. And know what's going to happen to you, Bess? You're not going to get a dime. If they build it, you're not going to get a dime to retrofit it back to city standard. You're not going to get the money for it. You are right. They're better than up the country highway, up the country street, not city. I agree.
Thank you.
Now, has it been added? We haven't discussed that.
Yes, it's added. It's the last thing. It's been added.
Yeah, that's got to be mentioned in this meeting. It has to be publicly recorded on who supported it. Of course, I told you I would support getting it on the agenda, but that doesn't, just as an administrative note, it just needs to, that needs to be noted who added it. So me, you, and Levon. Yep. Okay.
No, I told her I would support that too.
Okay. Yeah, it just needed.
Thank you.
Two in the president. That's I'm just getting to the, I wasn't trying to hold anybody out.
No, I understand. And I'd explained that to the clerk when I asked her to place it, who had given confirmation. If we could pull that up first, since it's technically not a new item, my office just could not meet with the mayor as much as I tried until Friday. So I was hoping there could be some kind of agreement through the mayor's office in slowing this down so that he could approach council members. I have, understand his position on this, and it goes contrary to transparency and also the idea that we have a map of Mobile where things are planned appropriately. And I asked at the meeting if they could give me examples of where monies were used and we did not build to standard in, say, the last 10 or 15 years. And I was told of a segment on a street off of Lloyd's Lane, which was annexed in 1956. It goes way far back. There are 5 homes off the little dirt road, and people complained. And I thought it would take the curb and gutter, of course, and because of the complete streets. But 2 years ago, I was approached by Mr. Amberger, who offered to let me know that there were additional funds in the district's program for CIP resurfacing, and there was some asphalt, and he felt it was not a drainage issue. They could have the asphalt placed instead of the rocks and the dirt that they've put up with all those years. But it's almost like a long extended driveway. It's not a thoroughfare. Nobody goes through it. It's strictly to these homes. And then the other one, which was brought to my attention, was down by the state docks for Airbus. And I guess there are no curb and gutters. And it was to move strictly the on and off stuff that were coming in from the docks over to Airbus. So again, it's not a residential area or a thoroughfare. The idea that the county did a soccer complex with complete county funds, and the street that they put into the soccer complex had to be built with curb, gutters, and sidewalks. And I asked, why didn't they just get permission to build a county road? It was a completely county program. The city had no interest in it, other than we'll, benefit directly. And the idea was, one, there were neighborhoods around it, so they needed that upgrade and they needed to have that. And again, it's a city street. So by giving this to the county, it circumvents that it would have to follow our standards of development. And again, if the private sector stepped up, there's no way they would build this unless there was some kind of terrain issue that, was so difficult to get around for, like I said, the open ditches, or that you couldn't put a light, but I think in an open ditch area, you'd want a light, whatever. But it's, again, how do you keep people engaged in a city? How do you tell them that you're going to have good quality development, and then the city does a program and it's inferior because it doesn't meet the standards that people who are looking to buy property, looking to develop, and we will get, we'll get as much out of it as we put in. So it's an excuse not to do it right from the start. And apparently it's not a priority to this administration, because there's economic development. If you talk about housing and retail and all the taxation we'll get from the area. So again, my office was not approached for CIP funding, and it's flat out wrong. I wouldn't want it in any of your districts. You all have road improvements going on. You're not getting it to this standard, and you shouldn't. People would expect better and safer. And it just boggles my mind that a PAYGO project isn't taken over by the city, because you're basically allowing it to be an inferior street by saying it's okay that the county take the lead, yet the city will maintain it and it's in the city limits. So I urge you to look at that, or look at the resolution, and give my office the opportunity to talk to owners and to work with the administration to make sure it is developed to city standards. It'll cost so much more later, and it will not have the positive effect that everyone is saying this is the potential that we're opening up. There's no excuse for this. It's very poor planning in the 21st century.
Madam City Clerk, where are we at this point? I know we're on the agenda item dealing with Nebius Road. Is there any further discussion?
Is there an interest to move the resolution up before we vote on you all moving the money to the county? If that's, because I would like this option to come first, because it doesn't kill the project. It allows it to be built to a higher standard that is the normal route for streets in our city limits. If we start here, I don't imagine that we can expect anyone else to adhere to plans if our own system, because they can walk over to the county and say, well, this is a county street, because we're all in Mobile County. What government should try to be fair. We ask developers to do a lot more in this day and age in order to get to their property. And we are avoiding it by saying it's okay, the county will construct it.
I support moving it up.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay. So we'll need to,
needs to be a motion to move it up, and that would be decided in a formal meeting.
yeah, and then we'll have to suspend the rules and all of it.
Right.
So,
Okay. All right. So we're ready to move on now?
Yes, ma'am.
08816 and 817, 818 are approving purchase orders to Lights Inc. for 483 annual subscriptions for fleet tracking, drive cam access, and driver safety management services, to UJ Chevrolet for one 2021 15-passenger van, to Insight Public Sector for 73 refurbished computers. 21.
Madam Clerk, if I may just answer Reggie Hill's question, those are all public or police administration computers.
Okay.
So I think that answers his question, and I did send him the background information, so nobody needs to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
21819, authorized contract renewal with Chris Brewer Contracting for 2021 citywide annual sidewalk repair and maintenance. 21820, authorized.
Do we have a DBE?
Good morning, Councilman.
Morning.
I have not received that information. I have sent a request to Nick Amberger for it.
Wow. Okay.
Is this Miss Kidd?
Yes, sir.
So on a project of this nature, almost $2 million, nearly $2 million, and it's on the agenda. We don't have any information relative to who his DBE partners might be.
Not as of yet.
How did they get it? It shouldn't be on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to hold over until appropriate time. We can do
I'm sorry, I was having a little technical difficulty. This is Nick. I can get that information. I'll try to have it before 10:30.
Great.
And Nick, hey, Nick, can you, I don't know if the counselor can hear this, is Jim DeLapp. Nick, this is the contractor. This is a continuation of a existing contract for a third option year. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is the third and final year of the renewal of that, of the contract.
But
So
we
this
can't
same-
assume, Colonel, hold on just a sec. We can't assume that there's DBE in any
Right.
project of this capacity. And I don't know where the threshold, if it's 500, but this would obviously be one of those that that the administration simply knows that this question is going to be asked. If nobody else, it's going to be asked by me And it needs to be very clear by the time it hits the agenda. That's all.
That there previously was DBE on the two,
Yeah.
on the original contract and the renewal. I don't know why it's not in the documents. I'll have to get back to the office. I'm sorry, I'm not there right
Let's-
this second,
let's-
but I'll get back
let's
there
not
and
pull it,
try to
Nick.
track
Let's
that
not-
down very quickly.
It needs to come from the contractor as confirmed that they will have it, not our assumption that they will continue.
Mr.
Yeah, that is part
President,
of the documents. He submits that document. I'll verify that we've got it.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Wait, Mr. Richardson?
before the contract is submitted to the council, that should be verified, and that the documentation showing he has a DBE should be a part of what he submits to us. If not, it should not even be on our agenda.
I agree.
And it should be there. I'll just have to get back and see what the snafu might have been.
All right.
Just to
Okay,
clarify,
thank you, Mr. Amberger. If you could provide us that information as quickly as possible, because I know all of us were expecting to see that information, particularly on a project of this larger nature.
Mr. President,
Mr. Arledge.
Mr.
Chris.
Arledge, yes, sir?
if this, we're talking about Chris Brewer contracting, the item that is on the agenda shows 15% of worth of subcontractors on the DBE stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Arledge. We'll wait to get the information from Mr. Amberger.
Okay,
It's in your packet, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I think what Mr. Arledge is saying, it's in the package. It's in the package that was submitted.
and the other, right, and then the last piece on this is right. So if it's in there, the 15%'s in there, already in the package, and it should have been in from the original contract that they were awarded. We would not have awarded it originally without it. This is a continuation or renewal of the existing contract.
Right. I knew I recognized the name as a sidewalk contractor, yeah.
Well, this is standard language, and we just need to make sure that it is confirmed by the contractor that he is going to continue with that. Sometimes we have trees on a site when they develop, and all those trees die and they never get put back. And so in this case, I think it's fair to say the contractor's about to be awarded this amount of money, and by 10:30, you ought to be able to confirm that he
Amen.
going to have 15, at a minimum, 15% in DB.
I certainly concur, and if we could get that information, we hear all that you all are saying. If we could just get that confirmed by 10:30, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
21-820, authorized contract of H.M. Young and Associates for Sanger Theater mechanical upgrades. Essential COVID night items being introduced for the first time. 01821, authorized agreement with Public Park and Recreation Board of the City of Mobile for the renovation of Lad People Stadium locker rooms. $500,000. 01822, authorized agreement with Mobile Museum Board to manage, operate, and promote the facilities. 03823 and 824 are, 823, appoint Eloise Taylor to the Mobile Museum of Art Board. 08824, 825, 826, 827, 827 are approving item-based bid for ammunition from Precision Delta Corporation, approved purchase order to Game Time for shade sail replacement.
Excuse me, on that one, if the council would entertain moving that and not laying it over since it's under 50K and the shade over the playground needs to be replaced. It was damaged.
I don't have a
It's the
problem.
CIP funds. I'd appreciate that. I was
It is
asked.
CIP?
Yes.
08826, approved purchase order to Terraview for Range Pro X8 UAV, $25,542. 08827, approve purchase order to Toter LLC for 588 garbage carts, lids, hinges, and fasteners, $60,973.68. 21828, authorized contract with McElhaney Construction Company for 2019 drainage, Group C, Belle Isle and Woodcliff Drive North, $246,652.50.
Where are these funds coming from?
District, was District 4.
Where are we, I wouldn't pay it.
21828.
Oh, yeah, permanent, okay.
Mhm.
Has everybody gone deaf out there?
Nick, are you still there?
I know these were funds that I initially put funds in by CIP, and I don't know what's,
It doesn't say anything about that.
These are 2019 CIP funds. The title on the contract should have been 2019 CIP. So these are 2019 drainage projects.
yeah. I knew I'd done Belle Isle. I wasn't sure about Woodcliff.
All right, sound good with me?
All right.
21829, authorized contract with Guardian Pest Control, doing business as Knox Pest Control for pest control services at various city facilities, $30,874 per year, 3 years. Does this include pigeons? Squirrels? 21830, authorized contract with Neil Schaefer for the design and development of the Innovating St. Louis Street Mobile's Technology Corridor Project, no matching funds. 37831, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance.
Excuse me. Is that, it says Jennifer Green, so was that a grant?
Hi, this is Jen. That is a Restore grant that we have, one of our Bucket 1 projects, and that's the first phase to complete the design and engineering to the bid.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
37832 are recommending approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a retail beer, table wine, off-premises only license for Old Shell Food Mart on Old Shell Road, and for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license for 41 Daiquiri and Foods on Old Shell Road.
Okay, so is that 37832?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
5602 Old Shell Road is certainly not in District 1. You way out there.
I think it's
56.
Gregory.
Okay, that's Ms. Gregory. $58,833, declare weeds noxious, weedling group 1609. $68,34, approve award of special bonus to the October firefighter of the month, Fire Service Captain Samuel L. Allen. $60,835, approve settlement agreement and release of claims, Philip Daffin. $68,36, determine the appropriation to the New Lions Park Tennis Association serve the public purpose and approve payment. $68,37, determine an appropriation to the Blessing Angels Gifting Tree serve a public purpose. $68,38, determine an appropriation to United Methodist Inner City Mission of Mobile serves a public purpose and approve payment. $68,40, request the county to hold the funds earmarked for Nevius Road Extension Project until the city is able to commit the necessary funds to construct the project in accordance with city construction standards. Call for public hearings. 41839 and 840 are calling for public hearing to consider ascending to the vacation of a portion of South Conception Street and a portion of St. Emmanuel Street, west of Metro Jail and east of Metro Jail, respectively, scheduled December the 8th. Announcements.
All right. Are there any announcements that we'd like to make at this particular hour? I know we will have a, Mr. Williams and I will have a proclamation along with the mayor's office. We'll have a proclamation today. Any other special proclamations or things we need to pay attention to?
Mr. President,
Mr. Daves?
I'd like to go over the ones we intend to take up today,
Absolutely.
which would be 03823, appoint Eloise Taylor, 0825, shade replacements at Meadowlark Park, 21828,
No,
not that one. No, I don't know why I checked that one.
No, 21,830.
21830, 21830, 831, 832, 833, 834, 836, 837, and 838. And then what about moving 6840 to the front?
that has to be done after the approval, or when the motion's made to approve the agenda and declare all these things essential, then there has to, and it's seconded, then there is as I recall, we always made another motion to move another one forward. Kind of like an amendment.
So we move it to essential COVID-19 items held over.
No, it's just be moved to the front and taken out of order because you'll still have to suspend the rules.
That's so.
Under presentations,
Where does it go?
under presentations.
You'll take it up right after presentation of petitions and other communications to the council.
And that's a separate motion. So there's a motion to approve it in COVID and all that. Second, then an additional motion, like an amendment, to move that one forward. And then we'll approve it total. Yeah.
Why can't we do it all in one motion? Approve the agenda, approve the COVID-19 items, and move that forward.
We
We
can.
could.
You can.
We could. You can make it one voice. Yeah.
Thank you.
All righty, any additional announcements? Ms. Gregory? Ms. Richardson?
No.
Ms. Vice President? Ms. Bess Rich?
No.
Mr. Daves?
No, sir.
John Charles?
Number 5, no.
All right, Madam City Clerk, anything? If not, we will see each other